interrupted with some questions as we go, but
Yeah.
so we're in the visitor center of the this is the Calpine Visitors Center, right?
Yes, this is the Calpine Visitors Center. Actually, just was upgraded. This is one of our new displays, which I really do like. It shows the edges of the plates, and this is where you do find geothermal resources being located. You can see coming down Indonesia, the Philippines, and of course when we get over to California, you can see the edges of the plate of the Pacific plate. I believe this is probably Hawaii in this area. And these indicate power plants. San Andreas Fault, that's the Pacific plate, North American plate. So it's quite an interesting display. And I'm still learning about it.
Oh.
But this brings you down here. You can see the edges of the plates. Our favorite San Andreas Fault. And you'll find geothermals located in those areas. That's where it is. This is a close-up of one of our power plants.
Oh.
Sort of pans away there, which is really pretty neat.
Yeah.
Rendition. It's used Unit 20. You can see the cooling tower much larger than the one we saw today. This is one of the larger power plants, and you move back into the geysers, and you can see the well pads. And so this is sort of a depiction of here we got an 8,000 foot deep well. And the fractured rocks are very important. You can't, if you got the heat and you don't have the fractures, you can't convey the steam to the well. It comes up the well bore to piping in the power plant.
What is this?
And then it zooms back out. So
Nice.
yeah, no, they did a great job.
Yeah.
And the volcanic areas are also located. You can see this plate's plunging underneath and pushing up, and you get the volcanoes in that area too, and there's geothermal potential in those areas. And this is another view of the same thing with the plates, and you can see where the developed geothermal is. Hawaii's kind of a different spot. It's a hot spot, and the plate is moving over it. You can see the newest island here, and here's the old islands going back this way. And so there is a geothermal power plant on Hawaii. New Zealand has developed geothermal power, and Japan has developed geothermal power. But the first geothermal power actually was Italy.
That was the first one. That was like 1905 or something.
Right. Let's see what it says somewhere. Where is it?
It looks like there's plenty of red there in the Middle East, around the Mediterranean.
Now Iceland's on a plate that's spreading this way. This is where plate's being made, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge.
Oh.
And so there's also geothermal there, very large geothermal development. I think they did a lot of, we was using it for aluminum production and things like that.
Yeah, I think they're talking about being completely renewable energy dependent with their geothermal.
With their geothermal.
Yeah.
And in Kenya, in the Rift Valley, they also have geothermal. They have, I think it's near Lake Naivasha.
I think that was with President Obama's recent tour of Africa. He was at a geothermal plant in, I think it was Kenya or a near country in somewhere along the Rift Valley.
Yeah, Kenya does have it in the Rift Valley, and I think it's near Lake Naivasha.
Okay, can we take a look at some more of the visitor center?
Yeah.
This is the guy. So we're going from the world to the geysers now, right?
Right. So this, I love this because this must have taken thousands of hours to produce. This is hand drawn. This is the geothermal reservoir. This is the different layers of it that were, is there a 1992? Back when that was, we do this all now with programs, computer programs, and so it's quite evolved.
Okay.
So. Excuse me. Here's a geologic cross section of the geysers, and when we cut, you can see this D prime. So that would be this cross section right here.
I see.
And you can see we map the greenstone. We map various levels. This is the top of the steam reservoir. Each one of these depicts a well that's been drilled. And remember, I was talking on the bus that as we drill, we get into the resource, and all of a sudden they'll hit steam, and they'll log it in. That little tick mark there is an indicator of a steam entry. And so here's all the steam entries along each one of these wells.
I see.
So we have, this is, of course, you know, a display, but we actually have 3D imaging of all this now. We've done quite a bit of.
So can you do geothermal exploration with 3D imaging? Or is that...
Well, it helps us make good decisions on where we explore.
Because I know that one of the big obstacles for geothermal is the cost of exploration.
Right. There's a lot of geotechnical work that can be done without even drilling a well. I'm not really that familiar with how that technology works, but it's surface work. Yeah. These are cores. You can see that now. This is core number 1, which you know, it's basically this is what we're drilling through to get to the steam reservoir, and it comes over to this place here, and then this is the cap rock. As you can see, this is kind of goes to this location, and then we get into the gray wacky area, and where it's porous, and you can see we talk about a geothermal reservoir, and unfortunately, reservoir conjures up an image of a huge lake.
Right.
And the huge lake really is confined to these tiny, tiny cracks.
Really?
And that's where the steam comes out of the well.
Interesting. So the rock is hot because it's from near the Earth's center. It's very, very hot. So whatever water is in those tiny cracks is very, very hot. It's steam. I see.
It's steam in this resource.
I see.
At one point, they believe most geothermal resources are liquid dominated, where you actually drill down into a liquid zone, and then as you bring that liquid up, it produces steam, it flashes, and then coming over the wellhead, you would have liquid and steam.
I see.
Geysers is a steam-dominated reservoir, so we only have steam. So this is kind of a very dramatic picture of on top of a drilling rig. It's very tough work, drilling wells.
Is it comparable to drilling for oil?
Very similar. We use the same rigs. There's actually, I think, an additional sub base on the rig that elevates it higher for us for the various blowout equipment that we use. So, yes, but in fact, we compete with oil and gas for the same rigs.
Oh, interesting.
But we do like drillers who have geothermal experience because it has its unique aspects of it.
Could you just, for the fun of it, name a couple of those unique aspects?
Well, you got steam. You know, you drill into the zone, all of a sudden pop, you're getting hot steam blowing out, and managing that on the surface safely is very important. This is a very interesting sort of, kind of helps people understand what a drill rig is, basically, and these are what we call the sub bases. And there are various pieces of equipment, and as we drill, this steam, if steam pops out of this well, it goes to this vent here through a pipeline, and then that's what we log the steam entries, the steam flow at that point. So let's see if there's I'm new to this display as well. It shows the rotating components on the rig floor. And these are drill bits. Now we have some real drill bits over here, so you can see that. But this is how they a very good dramatization of how it chews up the rock.
Yeah, let's take a look at these.
So here's the actual drill bits here, and these are all very hardened metal, and they're used until they're worn out, and then they're done.
These are pretty similar to the drill bits you see in oil drilling.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Okay.
Then this is the geothermal power plant. Basically, we've got steam coming in from each one of the wells. There will be several wells feeding a geothermal power plant. Steam will come into the turbines. And in this case, this is a dual flow turbine. So the steam actually comes in the middle between these two and passes through the blades. And what you don't see is that in between the blades, there's some vanes that direct the steam at precisely the right angle to be very efficiently turn the rotor. And and so then it'll drop in stages. You might have heard on the tour
But the
that
tour was
one fellow was asking, well, how many stage turbine do you have? And this is the first stage, second stage, third stage. So that's that's what that is. And so then this is the last stage, and actually at the last stage, you're even starting to form water droplets.
That was we saw that water coming in out of the cooling towers there.
Right, but the water starts forming here. Just
Okay.
tiny droplets. And if you look on the turbine rotor outside, on the leading edge of it, it's pitted. That's the impact of those water droplets
Wow.
hitting that blade.
It's hitting from the force of the steam driving
Right,
through.
it's hitting this leading edge of the blade, and then it exits out the other side, and then it goes down into the condenser. And the condenser is where we have some cold water inside a pipe, actually many pipes, probably thousands of little tubes. And so the tube, outside of the tube is cold, and the steam hits that cold tube and collapses the steam to make water. And so that's where the vacuum comes from. All this volume of steam collapses down and produces water, which we make at the plant. And most of the power plants up here make all the water they need to run. Especially in the wintertime and summertime, some of them are a little bit close, and we add a little recycled water to some, just one or two.
And what's the rest of this diagram, and how does it all work? That's the water that comes back out, but where does the electricity, where do we get the electricity?
Well, electricity comes from, again,
Driving the steam.
Turns the
Right.
generator. The generator then generates electricity, then it goes to a transformer where it steps it up
Right.
to either 115,000 volts or 230,000 volts, where it's shipped out to
PG&E.
into the grid, and
Yeah.
then utilities like PG&E, San Diego Gas and Electric,
And Safeway.
and Safeway, all
I was
hold the
listening.
grid under their contracts.
Right.